Hello and welcome to another edition of The Week That Was, a weekly program where we catch up with the headlines of the previous week. This week we review the headlines from 24th to 30th August. On our table we have the toppling games in the Panchayat just after the elections. We have the elevation of the first Cardinal after 465 years in Goa. We have the saga of the Sonali Phogat death case and an agricultural drone which is revolutionizing agriculture. To discuss these and other stories, I have with me the group editor of Herald Publications, Mr. Sujay Gupta. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We start with 24th August, Wednesday, that is last week, and there is a headline on page 2 of Herald which says marriage and divorce in less than 24 hours in Mandrain's sinking Panchayat politics. Now this refers to a story which is less than 24 hours after the Panchayat election. There was a no confidence motion which was tabled, and on 29th August, that is yesterday, that is Monday, the Sarpanch was ousted by a panel which was supported by the local MLA.
See, this is only a reflection of what we've been saying for a very long time, Dr. Freddy. The issue here is that the politics at the grassroots level is no different from the politics that happens at the assembly level or at any other level for that matter. Ultimately, it is about power at any cost, and we've been witnessing that at every strata of politics. The Panchayat elections were no different, though they were touted as an election where there would be no parties, there would be no influence of MLAs, and it would be a people's election.
Yeah.
But the real fact of the matter is this, that ultimately it's a dog-eat-dog world where every politician, especially MLAs, want to control. In Mandre, what really happened was that the particular Sarpanch, Mahesh Kunadkar by name.
Yeah.
So that particular Sarpanch, you could see the previous day after he won the elections, he had lined up and taken a picture with Dayanand Sopte.
Yeah.
The next day, most of his people were seen with Jeet Arolkar, who is the current MGP MLA.
Yeah.
The irony is that Jeet Arolkar, as the MGP candidate, as part of the MGP TMC alliance, defeated Dayanand Sopte.
Yeah.
But after elections, MGP became part of the government. So technically, both Sopte and Arolkar are part of the same ruling combination.
Yeah.
But in village politics or in constituency politics, of course, they are still bitter rivals. So the irony is that a team of Punch members decided to initially, align themselves to Dayanand Sopte, and within 24 hours they shift that allegiance and move this side. So this is nothing. It's a sad state of Goan politics. It's all about who gives you greater power and greater money, perhaps.
Our second story on the same day refers to the headline in the Herald with regard to Congress MLA's desperate plan to resign and contest by-elections is unfolding. Now, in this case, it is the same story, the same script and the same authors who were suspects in a previous attempt in order to merge a section of the Congress with the BJP, and this kind of politics continues even though we are well on our way after the elections.
See, before the last assembly session, monsoon session, we had this whole drama of Congress MLAs holed up in one hotel and in the other hotel.
Yeah.
Ostensibly to kind of either prevent them from crossing over to the BJP, or you never know, to facilitate the crossing over. The hotel visit could be for either reason. But as things happen, the Congress was on the verge of splitting, with 8 MLAs moving out of the Congress and all of them merging into the BJP.
Yeah.
A neat 2/3 split, which would avoid the need for having any by-elections. Fortunately or unfortunately, depending on which side of the camp you are in, it could not materialize because some of the Congress MLAs did not actually get what they wanted, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Now, since they did not get what they wanted, they did not go and complete this whole plan. So without 8 MLAs, the others also chickened out because none of them wanted to resign and contest elections.
Yeah.
So it was always a question of not if, but a question of when. It was all boiled down to when they would do it.
Yeah.
What we are learning right now is that the desperation levels to leave the Congress and be part of the power mechanism is so huge that they are now even about 4 or 5 of them are even desperate enough right now to even resign and contest elections once again.
Yeah.
Without any concern about the cost involved, about the fact that it's going to be a betrayal of the people's mandate. They're least bothered, but this is what they want to do. Ultimately, whether it works out or not, it all depends on how the political wind blows, because it would also entail, if these people are coming in and cabinet posts have to be given to a couple of them, then 2 people from the current ministry have to be dropped.
Yeah.
So all these things will come into, but it's shocking nevertheless. But this has ultimately become the new normal now.
Yeah. Our third story of the previous week is dated 25th August, wherein in the Herald we have this headline: Bardez Mamalada still in office after FIR with clear charges of supervising property fraud. Now, in this case, at the time of shooting this program, he has not been questioned. No statement has been taken from him, even after 2 FIRs have been filed against him.
Right.
And under his tutelage, 1 lakh square meters of land in Bardez has changed hands. Now, what is the government or the ministers who are supervising this, especially the revenue?
You see, Rahul Desai, who's the Mamladar, we have learned that there are many cases of land transfers where his role has been dubious, to say the least. Because a Mamladar is supposed to check all the documents of the sale deeds, see that everything is on course. Another thing that Mamladars have overlooked, unscrupulous Mamladars have overlooked, is that when a sale deed is done, normally a notice is sent to the original seller just to ensure that the sale deed is kosher and above board.
Yeah.
And if it comes to the original owner, and if he or she sees that the land is being sold without their knowledge, they have a right to object. What they do very cleverly is that they either do not send the notices, or they send the notices to false addresses, or sometimes they send the notices to the addresses which are in the name of the unscrupulous land grabbers.
Yeah.
And what they do is they send these notices, and within 24 hours they turn around and say that there is no objection to it and you can go ahead with the sale.
Yeah.
So very often the entire mutation process happens in 3 or 4 days, where for a common man to do it, it will take about almost 6 to 7 months, if not a year.
Yeah.
So it obviously shows that these kind of land transfers cannot happen without the blessings of the land officers.
But the fact that he is not touched till now and he is sitting in his office.
It is very shocking, as we have mentioned in the story, that once you have already filed an FIR against somebody, on what basis can you go on saying investigations are on? Investigations can be on when the person who is sitting in office, which he has misused, he needs to be removed from that office, otherwise he will influence the investigation.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Now, our next story, story number 4, is dated August 28th, which is a Sunday, and it has a banner headline in the Herald: Pope Francis elevates His Eminence Archbishop of Goa Philip Neri Ferrão as Cardinal. And this is a momentous occasion after the canonization of Jose Vaz. That is, in the 465 years history of the Goa Church, this is the first time that we have a Cardinal.
Yes, all one can say is react to this in a manner that all Goans have done, out with reverence and joy, and in the belief that this will also kind of bring the Archdiocese of Goa Daman-Diu into the limelight, and will allow His Eminence now to spread the good word and take take his teachings to the far corners of the world, as it were. Because it's very important that we now have a Goan Cardinal who will be part of the whole ecosystem that ultimately elects the Pope, which is a matter of great pride for somebody from Aldona in Goa to reach such highest levels. We only wish him all the best, and bow our heads in absolute reverence and to this occurrence. Right.
Okay, now the next story that we have is a story which has done headlines on many days of the past week, and this has to do with the sensational Sonali Phogat death case. Now, in a story which is dated 25th August, we have the plea from the parents of Sonali Phogat to register this case as a murder case, because previously the police has sought to push it under the carpet to say that this was an unnatural death case.
Right.
Now again on August 27, we have, after registering it as a murder and then, going into the details of the case, the police suddenly come up with this statement that the Phogat case, that Sonali Phogat was given obnoxious chemicals at Curly's, and this is said by IGP Omveer Singh. Then again on 29th, we have the CM, he becomes proactive and he says, I have no problem, our police is probing the case well, and I have no problem if it is handed over to the CBI, and that is because of the demands that were made by the Chief Minister of Haryana. And DGP of Haryana.
Now see, this Sonali Phogat case, it has some striking resemblances to the Scarlet killing case of 2008.
Yeah.
It's just that Sonali was a much older woman than Scarlet was. She was in her early 40s and Scarlet was in her late teens. But this whole cocktail of apparently the whole cocktail of, say, drugs, there are men with supposed intentions which are much more than just being friends. There was a sexual involvement which is being kind of alleged.
Yeah.
Then the use of drugs is not only alleged, it almost seems certain that drugs were literally used in this particular situation. I mean, the visuals that we've got from CCTV footage and the fact that there was the administration of some kind of a liquid, and the police obviously calling it obnoxious chemicals. That's a very, I would say, sweet quote unquote way of putting it. Obnoxious chemicals is nothing but obnoxious drugs. But I don't know for what reason, maybe for legal reasons and otherwise, they're using the word obnoxious chemicals. But obnoxious chemicals won't hide the fact that they were ultimately drugs. I mean, but that needs to be proven. But what is important here is, beyond all this, firstly, why did this happen in Goa? Even if there was a motive to the murders, there are a lot of theories. One theory is that it was a pre-planned murder. They had a motive to the murder. There was an economic angle to it. We do not know where all this is coming from. They could be true, may not be true.
Yeah.
But the very fact is that an adult woman consented to coming to Goa with men she was comfortable with.
Yeah.
On that there is no doubt. She was not kidnapped and brought here.
Yeah.
Okay. It is possible that she may have been hoodwinked because those people may have gotten close to her with the overall intention of economic benefits or whatever. So the motive for the murder is yet to be established.
Yeah.
But what is already established is there was a very congenial relationship between the two accused and the deceased.
Yeah.
Okay. Why did they come to Goa? They certainly did not come to Goa to do a film shoot. That has been proved to be a lie.
Yeah.
Because after her death, these two accused called up her family and said she's died. We had come on a film shoot and she's died, of a heart attack. That clearly was a false painting of the whole picture.
Yeah.
So we also know that the people who have been accused, there is obviously some suspicion about their motives. Now we are coming to drugs. Before we come to drugs, why did these people, even if they had motive, why did they come to Goa? Because Goa is seen as a place where these kind of activities are easily possible and permissible.
Yeah.
Free availability of drugs. You have night joints that go until 4 o'clock and nobody will object. Yeah. And they obviously knew that which are the joints which would either supply or which would turn the other way if drugs are supplied at this point. This is what they thought. Yeah. We are not coming to the conclusion that Curly's did exactly that. Let the legal system find it out.
Yeah.
But it so happened, there are certain things that are obvious. They were present at Curly's, there's no doubt about it. The fact that substances were administered on her, there is no doubt about it. Yeah. The fact that there is a CCTV footage which is showing her either going into a toilet or coming out of a toilet in an extremely wobbly state, which could either be drunkenness or druggedness, we don't know, but it needs to be examined. The finding of that particular drug, methethine, if I'm not mistaken, but it's called meth for short, in the toilet of Curly's. So the point is that those drugs were also found. We need to examine whether it was the very same drug that was suspected to be administered or not. So the investigations will get to the bottom of many of these things.
Yeah.
But the ecosystem of drug dealers and shacks and establishments that look the other way, and the fact that these activities were going on. The other point, she was seen going to the toilet at 4:27 led by these people, either in the toilet or coming out of the toilet. Yeah. What was Curly's doing at 4:27? Why was Curly's open at 4:27 in the morning? Do they have a license to operate at 4:27 in the morning?
Yeah.
If they do, please produce it. So all these things, see, what happens is, again, the tragedy is that it always takes a death or an incident like this for us to ask the same questions that we've been asking for the last 10 years with no answers.
Yeah.
During Scarlet Killings case, we asked the same question. Her presence at Curly's was there at that point of time. We are not blaming one shack or the other. We are just drawing a pattern.
Yeah.
In 2008, we asked the same questions. In 2022, we are asking the same questions. My point is, why are these places open? Why is the whole system of drug dealers not checked? In fact, there is another story which you will take up now of what the Hyderabad police has found, and we'll talk further on this.
Yeah.
But the point here is this, that this particular case will be solved. It can be given to the CBI. It can be done all this. But the pattern is very, very uncanny. It is consistent. And secondly, I would also go to say that the system, which is the government, was quick to announce it as a heart attack case first.
Yeah.
Then don't forget that she's also a BJP member. Pressure would have come from somewhere. Yeah. Then they decided, no, let's dig deep into it. Quickly register a murder case, because otherwise it's serious that, when you know there's an ulterior motive, if you think, you have to register a murder case. But look at this, because there was pressure, a murder case was registered. But if you look at the Siddhi Naik case, where she was a daughter of a relatively less fortunate family, okay, and a Goan family at that, her father had to run from pillar to post for almost, say, 2 to 3 months to even get it registered as a murder case. After that, nothing happened. Yeah. Murder case happened because of pressure from the media. Yeah. But even then, nothing happened. And now they've decided to close the case. Yeah. But the point here, the main moot point is that Goa seems to have become a place where there's an easy availability of drugs with the potential of sex. And because of this, these things are going on. And the system is looking at the other way. Look at the all-night parties that are going on, and the sound pollution that is happening. How can you have so many rave parties going on? Do all of them have licenses? Do all of them have sound permissions? Do they contribute to the state exchequer? Yeah. Nothing.
So basically reinforces the notion of Goa as being a soft state.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So on 29th August, Monday, we have another headline in the Herald which talks about this drug connection linking Goa. The Hyderabad narco police open a can of worms about Goa's drug trade after the arrest of an interstate Goan drug dealer.
Correct.
And there is a follow-up story on 30th of August, that is today, where the Goa police say that they are clueless and they don't know these names which have been mentioned by Herald.
See, there's something called the narcotic enforcement wing, or the narcotics control wing of the Hyderabad police. It's called H-NEW. That's the full abbreviation of that. Yeah. They picked up a drug dealer called Pritesh Borkar.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Pritesh Borkar was picked up and he was arrested in the Osmania University police station area. Yeah. He was known to be regularly supplying drugs in that particular area to the youth, because that's a university campus area. Yeah. And he's been apparently supplying bulk quantities of LSD, MST, charas, ganja, and so on and so forth, all the drugs available. Yeah. He in turn used to get his drug supply from another person, who in turn used to get a bulk supply. The bulk dealers, the wholesale dealers, there were about 6 or 7 wholesale dealers who've been named. Yeah. There are about 6 or 7 names that have been there, which we mentioned. Yeah. Incidentally, one person called Steve has been mentioned there. One person called Edwin Nunes has been mentioned there. We are not linking them with anything else, but we are just saying these names are there. Yeah. Okay, and there are about 6 other names that are there. Yeah. It's all available. The point here is that Pritesh Borkar was arrested in 2014 by the Goa police, ANC. Either the anti-narcotics wing or the Anjuna police.
ANC. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, when you arrest this guy on 2014, and I don't know when he got bail, you know he is a noted dealer. How did this man continue his business for 8 years, become a very big interstate drug peddler, regularly supplying drugs in Andhra Pradesh, in Telangana, in Hyderabad now, and the Goa police has no clue about it. Now, even after the Hyderabad police did this investigation, it released an internal document of the investigation which we accessed, Herald accessed. Now, if Herald is accessing these reports, and these are all public reports, why doesn't the Goa police have a clue that these names, either they have a clue or they're pretending they don't have a clue? Yeah. See, like we mentioned, that if a person is fast asleep, you can wake him up. But if a person is pretending to sleep, you can never wake him up because he's still pretending to sleep. In Goa police is in that case, they are pretending to sleep. If they're pretending to sleep, you can never wake the Goa police up.
Yeah.
So that is where the situation is. That they have no clue. When we asked the Anjuna police yesterday, they turned around and said, we don't know. We are aware of the case, but we have not gone. But this will not cut much ice because everybody sees through it.
Okay. On Tuesday, August the 30th, that is the day we are shooting this episode of the week that was. In this, we have a headline story which is good news for many of the people who have lost land. Now, Sawant, that is Chief Minister of Goa, says that he would set up an inquiry commission to fast track the return of grabbed Goan land. Now, this commission of inquiry would be headed by a retired judge to revert land titles back to the rightful owners.
See, I have mixed feeling about this decision. Mixed feeling because one hand it's a good decision because it's important to give the land back to people who've lost land. Because many kith and kin are running from pillar to post because their land is gone and unscrupulous land grabbers have managed to transfer the lands and make properties. Now we look at incidentally 2 days ago there was another story nationally where in Noida there was an illegal building that was kind of brought down because for 9 years it was an absolutely illegal building and there were court orders and they managed to bring down those twin towers in Noida.
Yeah.
The same thing should happen to all illegal constructions built on land which has been fraudulently usurped from Goans.
Yeah.
Firstly, that should happen. But I see one small catch here where the government says that wherever there is no man's land and there is no clear titles and if somebody cannot prove, then the land will go to the government. Now, I have a suspicion here. Because what happens is many of these lands are owned by people who have either passed away and the kith and kin are not here. They may be abroad and they may not be chasing these properties as much as they do. Yeah. Now these properties, if the government takes over, that means ultimately the properties are going out of the hands of these people and going to the government.
Yeah.
And the value of these lands amounts to hundreds and hundreds of crores. So government, one should be very careful. The government should clearly tell people that look, they will take over the land and not use it for anything else. They will keep them in safe custody and give a 5-year period for the original owners to come and settle it. And in those 5 years, if it doesn't settle, then the land will be released for any other use. I think that should happen.
So, and the last story for this week, August 30th, Tuesday itself, farming solutions, revolutionary Agri Drone spray fertilizers in Shishini fields. And this story refers to the efforts of Father George Quadras of the Salesians of Don Bosco, who are based in Goa, with regard to precision agriculture. Now, there are a lot of things said about the, first of all, it is the first in technology with regard to introduction of drones in agricultural field in Goa. And Father George Quadras has mentioned that they can be used for organic as well as inorganic spraying of fertilizers and pesticides. And a big saving of cost because agriculture has been made redundant because of the high costs of labor involved.
Correct.
So it would save cost, it would save fertilizer, it would save time. And most importantly, it would not affect the soil because the fertilizer would be absorbed by the plant. And this drone which has been brought at a cost of about 10 lakhs and the operators would take another 60,000 for training. The rental cost of this drone is about 60 paisa per square meter, which is further subsidized by 30% by the Salesians of Don Bosco.
Yes, I think overall, I think the scheme and the proposal and the thought is not only revolutionary but is very heartening. And the point is you are bringing this technology to the farmers and who are hardly paying anything for it. In the sense that if there was one constructive move on the part of either the Salesians, of course with the blessings of the government also, to bring agriculture back, to revive agriculture, this is it. Because this drone technology will allow to spray large quantities of pesticides through drones on fields. And you can go almost as much as 2 lakh square meters a day if you do that. So once you do that, then you save so much on labor because you feel earlier you had to engage large amounts of labor to actually spray pesticides on crops. Now, if the drone technology does this, it's going to be faster, it's going to be cost effective, but it's going to be more pinpointed and effective scientifically also. It's going to save the soil from getting affected. So it's a win-win situation for everybody. And one should absolutely salute these warriors, I would say, and these angels and warriors both, Father Quadros is both. For fighting to get Goa better agriculture and having the heart to see that farmers can do this at a fraction of the cost that they would incur. It is fantastic if all our fields could be sprayed with good pesticides, if our yield gets better. The only thing that now remains is the government should now save all the fields and farms, because they should allow the bunds not to break. They should not allow saline water to come into fields. They should allow flood water to remain out of these areas. If the government does its bit, I'm sure this technology will work wonders and farmers can get back to their fields. And many people who had earlier left farming to get into mining and something else might come back to farming for a better livelihood.
Yeah. So on that extremely positive note and hope for Goa and agriculture of Goa and the food, organic food that has to be produced in this land, we wind up the week that was. We hope that you enjoyed this week's headlines. I thank my guest, Mr. Sujay Gupta, for being on this show and giving his insights and analysis.
Thank you.
We hope that you enjoyed this program. Hope to see you again on Herald TV.